So, whether you're trying to rank on a specific term in Google or other search engines, most businesses forget one crucial thing, which is on page search engine optimization. That technical term simply means that you help the search engines know what your site is all about. Now, the reality is that most businesses forget this crucial piece of the puzzle and simply don't know why they're not getting traffic from Google. They think SEO is a big scam purely because of bad assumptions. So the big question is, how do you achieve this? Well, how do you appear on the right keywords that your prospects and potential customers are searching for? Well, Google and other search engines have become much smarter than ever. What that means is that they're constantly trying to figure out what your website is all about. That said, it still needs a little bit help to know what your website is all about, and that is the best way to get ranked on the right keywords so that you attract the right prospects, right? Now, most people forgo on-page search engine optimization and try to focus on external things like getting backlinks. Now, while backlinks does work, this is a big mistake because by not doing something as simple as on-page optimization and on-page SEO, you will lose out on some great initial rankings. So you're going to discover how to get better search engine rankings by making your WordPress website more SEO friendly starting today. Now, this has been working for the last decade and there's no theory here. And the fundamentals and the factors that we're going to be dealing with have changed slightly, but they still work. So here's a quick video's overview of what's inside this video course. Video number 1 is the introduction. We'll talk about the mindset that you need to be in before you even get started. We'll talk about the tools you need, and we'll give you a quick overview. Video number 2 is the main focus to make sure that you're on the same page as us. Video number 3, we'll talk about the 5 main important factors. And then we'll dive into the 5 factors in video number 4, which will be the URL structure. Video number 5 will be body text structure. Video number 6 will be image optimization. Video number 7 will be title optimization. Video number 8 will be meta optimization. And then we'll talk about how you can automate this process by using the top 2 WordPress plugins that we have tested. So go ahead and grab this video course today and start making your WordPress site SEO friendly. Hello and congratulations on getting access to this video course on-page SEO for WordPress sites. This is video number 1, and we're going to talk about what's inside this video course. Now, before we do that, and before I give you a quick overview, what I want to do is talk about mindset, because I'm a big believer that if you're in the wrong mindset, then even if you have this video course, even if you try to implement a few things, it's ultimately going to hold you back. And I've seen this time and time again. This specific mindset that I'm about to talk about holds business owners back. And we don't want to see that happen to you. We want to see you succeed as much as possible. Here is the mindset. The mindset is that people make the assumption that every single SEO technique and rule changes rapidly so that what worked 15 years ago doesn't work now. Now, I will say a large majority, yes, it's true that search engine optimization does change rapidly every single month. Now, at the same time, and yes, that is true to a certain extent, but there are basic fundamentals that Google and other search engines look for that still hold true today, that still work today. So let me repeat that. Not everything has changed. It might have changed slightly. But if you get into that mindset of, oh, everything changes, everything that used to work 10 years ago doesn't work now, then you're putting yourself in a dangerous position simply because you will forget the basics. Now, there are a lot of basic fundamental SEO rules, but we're really going to focus on 5 factors, and I'll talk more about that later down the road. So we're going to be focusing on these factors that haven't changed, or if they have changed, they've only changed very, very slightly in the last decade. So make sure that you're not in this mindset. Otherwise, it will prevent you from actually moving forward. So here's a quick overview of what's inside this video course. Of course, this is video number 1, which is the introduction. Video number 2 is going to be the main focus. So we're going to make sure that you have a clear view of what we're going to talk about. Video number 3, we're going to talk about 5 important factors that you definitely should implement in your WordPress site. Video number 4, we're going to talk about the URL structure, such as what should your domain look like, what should the URL look like, and all of that. Video number 5, we're going to talk about body text structure. Video number 6, we're going to talk about image optimization and basically how to make your images more search engine friendly. Video number 7, we're going to talk about title optimization and how long your titles should be. Video number 8, we'll talk about metadata optimization and how that can affect what text and what information will show up on these search engines. And of course, last but not least, this is sort of a bonus, but in video number 9, I'm going to talk about the top 2 WordPress plugins that we highly recommend that you install. So once you understand these 5 important factors and you've actually implemented them yourself, then you can actually automate things. But automating things doesn't really help you in the long run. It's sort of like a shortcut. Without understanding the basics and the fundamentals, you're actually hurting yourself. You're not really going to know why you're ranking. All right. So here's what you're going to need. You're going to need to have a WordPress site. If you don't have a WordPress site, these fundamentals still hold true as well. But most of what I'm going to be showing you is how to implement these 5 factors into your WordPress site. You're also going to need to have a general idea of what the general keyword is that you want to rank on. And then, of course, you want to have a list of specific keywords related to that general keyword. And the reason why you need to have these in hand is because you're going to use these in your body text, your title text, your metadata text, and even your image alt tag text. So you're also going to need access to content, written text, and or images to create your post. Now, if you don't have all this information right now, that's fine, but you're definitely going to need it eventually. So with that said, let's move on to video number 2. Hello and welcome back. This is video number 2, and in this video, we're going to talk about the main focus so that you have a better clear view of what we're going to talk about in this video course. You see, because on-page SEO is such a broad term that literally covers a lot of areas of your website, both the front end, such as the text, the content, and all of that, and the back end, like sitemaps, the XML sitemap, and all of that. Really, the main focus of this course is to help you make your front end of your WordPress site more SEO friendly. And what that means is we're going to focus specifically on how to make your overall WordPress site structure, your posts, your pages, more search engine friendly. So the goal is that when Google and other search engine robots come to your site, they will know what your site is all about. Now, by robot, what I mean by that is that Google usually will send out computers, which are called bots, and they'll come and scan your website and try to figure out what your site is all about. Now, the truth of the matter is that too many people skip over this because it isn't exciting. They are too focused on external SEO, but the reality is that there are a lot of front-end factors that you must do on all of your sites. So by skipping out on these fundamental steps and just focusing on things like backlinking, you're really going to miss out on a lot, because when Google comes to your site, if your site is not search engine friendly and you've just got a lot of backlinks, then yes, you do have a lot of votes that your site might be good. But at the same time, it's like, okay, this is a popular site, but what is this site all about? That is the goal of this course. Even though that seems basic, it's very often much of a skipped step. So once you get in the habit of doing the following and implementing these 5 factors, you'll actually be ahead of most of your competitors. So the good news is that most people don't do this. So the fact that most people don't do this and you're doing this, you're going to get ahead of them. Now, to clarify what this isn't, however, we're not going to focus on backlinking or any external marketing strategies, which is what I talked about earlier. So now that you have a clear idea of what we're going to talk about, let's move on to video number 3 and discuss the 5 important factors that all of your posts, your pages, your content, your text, your URL structures, and everything else should contain. Hello and welcome to video number 3, and we're going to talk about the 5 important factors. Now, this is a quick overview of the 5 factors, and then of course the next few videos I'll dive in to every single one of these factors. But before we can really discuss them in depth, you need to have a broader bird's eye view of them. So before we jump into the 5 factors that your WordPress sites should have, or even your non-WordPress sites should have, which they'll definitely work on those too, it's important to know a few things first. So you're going to need to have a general idea of, number 1, the general keyword that you're going to want to rank on, and number 2, a list of specific keywords that branch off of that main keyword. Now don't worry if you don't have that now. I'm going to give you a step-by-step technique that will help you figure that out. Now, another big mistake that many folks make is implementing these without a clear plan of attack. And that's why I'm breaking things down in such a manner. There's a reason for everything. In fact, we've seen this with many websites. There's no clear plan, and the website owner simply creates content in an area with little or no traffic. And then they're not ranking on any specific keyword. They might even be ranking on keywords that have really nothing to do with their website. And this is a lot of time wasted, right? So that's why I'm not jumping straight head first. I'm breaking things down so that it becomes clear, and that way you will succeed. Now, we're not going to focus, like I said, on keyword research, but we do recommend that you check out the suggested keywords. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, Google has what we call suggested keywords. Amazon.com also has a list of suggested keywords. Now, this is what happens, and this is super easy. You can literally find the main keyword and a list of specific keywords within a few seconds. So here's what I want you to do. You can do this by going to google.com, for example, and typing in a general keyword. So you'll notice that when you do, Google will suggest keywords. Now, in order for the keywords to appear in the suggested box, that means that there's a ton of people that are searching for those keywords. So in other words, there's a high volume of people searching. So when I typed in the keyword survival kit, out dropped a drop down saying, well, these are other Google suggested keywords like survival kit list, ideas, Amazon, food, and backpack. Now, there's another way of doing this. If you type in the keyword and you press enter, then what's going to happen, and you scroll all the way down to the very bottom, you're going to see a list of words. So if you scroll all the way down the bottom after you made that search, you're going to find additional keywords right here where I've put a red box here. So we can see additional keywords are things like military survival kits, survival kit list, best survival kit food, items, wilderness survival kit. So we can see not only are there different keywords, but there are also different types of survival kits for different scenarios and different settings. So that gives us an idea of, okay, we can write an article on survival, military survival kits, or wilderness survival kits. So these could be totally different articles. So now that you have a basic understanding of basic keyword research, let's move on to the 5 important factors. And they are, number 1, the URL structure, or the domain name and the category name, the file name, Even the page name is important. And this is what shows up in the address bar at the very top. Whenever you go to any website, you see the domain name, the page name, and all that in the search bar at the top. That is the URL structure. Now, the URL structure is very important because it tells Google and other search engines, are you a brand? Are you a specific keyword? What is your website about? Now, that's just one element. There's a lot of other elements as well. Number two, we have the body text structure, which contains basically everything on your post or your page in terms of content. So this contains both written text that you use in your posts and pages, and there's more than just slapping a bunch of content for everyone to see. So there's a lot that goes into this. So I'm going to show you, I'm going to break things down so you have a better idea of what you should include in your body text structure. Number three, we got image optimization. What this means is making your images more search engine friendly. So just like body text, when it comes to images, Google and other search engines are not going to know right off the bat what they are. So you need to do your best to help them figure out what the images are all about. Now, there are ways that Google will figure out eventually what your images are all about. So don't try to game the system. For example, if you name an image, let's say a wilderness survival kit, the way they figure out if that image is legit or not is oftentimes they'll rank you in the Google image search engine. If somebody types in, let's say, wilderness survival kit, and they see your image and they click that, they have a better idea that, okay, this is definitely an image of the wilderness survival kit. And that will actually help you in the long run. So don't try to game the system and name an image something that it's not. Name it what it is so that it's an attracting image. And when somebody's looking for that image, they're going to find it, they're going to click it, and that's going to help you in the long run. In fact, beyond that, there's a few more steps you'll need to take. And plus, in addition to that, with the image search engine that I talked about just now, you can actually get a lot of traffic from that search engine. And of course, we got factor number 4, which is title optimization, basically how to make your titles search engine friendly, because the reality and the truth of the matter is that your titles do show up in the search engine, so you definitely need to do this right. Otherwise, you're going to attract the wrong person. Meta optimization is the same thing. You've got the description and other metadata that will show up underneath the title in the search engines. So you want to make sure that you attract the right person. Now that we've talked about the 5 important factors, let's dive into every single one of these 5. Okay, welcome back. This is video number 4, and we're going to talk about the URL structure. Now, this is something that has changed slightly in the last decade, but it hasn't changed drastically. Now, before we discuss what you should use in terms of a domain name and your URL structure, let's discuss why this is important. You see, when Google and other search engines try to figure out what your website is all about, they look at your website as a whole. They're not just going to look at your URL structure, your domain name, or your categories or your page name. They're going to look at everything as a whole. Plus, in addition to that, they're going to look at how people interact with your content and if that is true. Now, part of that is what appears in the URL. A search engine friendly URL structure can actually go a long way. Not only will it help the search engines figure out what your page is all about, it's also going to help a human visitor understand what the page is what. And that means that keywords still matter, but you have to be careful not to keyword stuff your URLs. And by keyword stuff, what I mean by that is you're putting too many of the same keywords in the same area. In other words, back in the day when Google started, for example, you literally could keyword stuff a page and get ranked really, really quick. But now Google has become much smarter. Their bots and intelligence have become smarter. So that's a big no-no. Don't do that. And I'm going to show you in just a minute why, if you use certain domain names, that can have a drastic impact on that. So let's talk about domain names. So what should you name your domain name? Should you use an exact match domain, meaning that the keyword is in the domain? Or should you use a brand name? Well, there's a big debate that using a keyword in the domain name will actually get you ranked higher. That actually worked back in the day. Sometimes it still works today. And there's really no right or wrong answer. Literally, at the end of the day, we don't know. Nobody knows what Google wants. In fact, what we found now is that there's so many exact match domains and so many people that are using keywords in their domain names that it actually might help and it might not. And that's why you need to make sure that you don't look at one element, but you look at the whole website as a whole. So yeah, that was quite popular maybe 5 years ago, something like this, yourkeyword.com. So maybe scubadivingmasks.com if you were trying to rank on scuba diving masks, or best scuba diving masks, or bestsurvivalkit.com. And that used to work and sometimes still does, so we can't really say for sure that if it doesn't or it does. We've noticed that it does, but we really can't say. But if you haven't noticed, Google really likes brands. They love brands. And the reason why they love brands is because brands are here to stay. If you look at a brand, it becomes a culture and it's got a following. And that's why Google loves brands. Something like this, yourbrandname.com. Now, Google is quite smart and has robots that know that people are trying to keyword stuff or game the system in terms of domain names or domains plus the URL structure. Now, we've had success with brand names, so we lean towards that as the long-term view. But then again, exact match keyword domain names work well for some other people as well. So we can't say for sure that if it's not going to work. So at the end of the day, it's really up to you. But what I'm going to show you in just a minute will reveal to you why using a brand name will actually help you, especially in preventing you from creating duplicate or keyword stuffing in the URL structure. So the URL structure looks like this: www.yourdomain.com/category/your-page-name. And that could be anything depending on how you go about naming that. And I'll show you that in WordPress, but we're just talking about the basic fundamentals right now. So let's say, for example, that you're trying to rank on red shoes. The problem with naming your domain name redshoes.com is this. Let's say, for example, that you have a category that is red shoes, blue shoes, yellow shoes, brown shoes. But that one category that's red shoes, and you have a product called Big Red Shoes, it ends up looking like this: www.red-shoes.com/red-shoes/big-red-shoes. So you see what I mean here? You've got red shoes, and red shoes 3 times in a row. That's not a good sign, because what that is keyword stuffing. Now, this isn't good because it looks like you're trying to game the system when in reality you might not be. But let's say, for example, that your brand name is Super Fast Feet. And as silly as that sounds, that's something that just came to my mind, and it'll make more sense. And the product name is Big Shoes. Now, I know that's not great, but hold on. It would look something like this: www.superfastfeet.com/red-shoes/big-shoes. So Big Shoes is a type of red shoes, but it belongs to the brand name Super Fast Feet, or the e-commerce store, or the digital store, or the local store. So by doing that, now you see red shoes only shows up once. Now, by using a brand name, you have the potential of selling other things. If you just do redshoes.com, you're stuck with only red shoes, right? But with Super Fast Feet, you could cover shoes, you could cover slippers, you could cover socks, you could cover a variety of different things. You could even cover lifestyle of running, exercise, and all of that. So brands not only does it help you with your URL structure, but it also helps you diversify and expand what your website could potentially be about. Now, in this case, the word shoes shows up twice, but that's okay. Do you see what I mean here and why brands actually help you avoid keyword stuffing? Now, another tip is to make sure that your URL is no longer than 90 characters long. Okay, so first things first, go ahead and log into your WordPress site, as you can see here. And then what you want to do is access the permalinks to make sure that your URL structure is search engine friendly. So what you need to do is to the left-hand side, go to Settings, Permalinks, and then we'll get to here. Now at this point, you're going to want to choose post name. Click post name, click save down here, and that's it. So what this is going to do is every time you create a post in a page, it's going to title the actual post and page and put it in the URL. You see, if you choose a numeric or if you choose anything like this, then when Google comes to your page, they're not necessarily going to know. They're going to look for the body text, but the URL structure is by no means search engine friendly. So as you can see here, the plain version is just $P=123. As a human being as well, you don't really know what that is, right? So choose post name, click save, and that is the reason. Now, if you go on to a post or a page, so if you go to posts and choose a post or a page, this is what it's going to look like. So when you create a post and page, like for example, right here, this article here that says 10 different places to find credible freelancers online. If you have it here, you want to make sure that that is in your permalink. Permalinked is the URL structure. So we click on edit here. We can see that it says 10 different places to find credible freelancers online. So what you want to do is, obviously we can't change the domain name, but we're going to put the title in here, and you want to put dashes in between the words. And when you're done, click on OK, click update, and that's it. So that's as easy as it gets in terms of editing the URL structure. Now, of course, you can add them into categories. So if you have a category, let's say in this case, we have freelancers, the category could be freelancing sites. And then you could have maybe 10 different posts on freelancing sites. So that as a human being, you know that we're looking at this and it's under the category of freelancing. And you can create categories by going under categories and click on add new category and creating that there. And then make sure that post or page is checked for that category, click update, and you're good to go. And that's it.